Hi, this is Craig Wesco recording for s2p.org, and today we're going to talk about dominion. So what does it mean that God gives us dominion over the animals? So oftentimes I'll hear people say, oh no, I don't care to be vegan because, well, God gave us dominion over animals, meaning I can exploit them, I can torture them, I can mutilate their bodies to eat their bodies, I can take their babies away from them, I can artificially impregnate them, I can enslave them, I can do whatever I want because I have dominion. So today I want to look at what does it mean to have dominion. So if we look at Genesis chapter 1, that's where it comes from. Genesis chapter 1, starting with verse 27, it says, "So God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." So it wasn't just Adam, it was Adam and Eve that were created in God's image. And then it says, and then it talks about what that entails, creating us in his image. It says, "Then God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth.'" So that's the part about dominion. And then in the very next verse, in verse 29, it says, "And God said, 'See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed, to you it shall be for food.'" So if we're saying dominion, if God intended that to mean do whatever you want to the animals and kill them, eat their dead bodies, then why in the very next verse would it say to eat the fruit of the trees and the green herb of the ground? That should be your food. So it seems to me that God created us and said, essentially, eat this plant-based vegan diet. And that dominion, part of that dominion, didn't have to do with eating animals or killing animals, anything like that. In fact, the diet that he gave us was to not kill the animals and eat them, but instead to eat fruit and vegetation. And then in the next verse it says, "Also to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food," and it was so. Now an interesting point about verse 30 is this is tying in what it means by dominion. So it starts out saying, this is what I did. God created us, created humans in God's image and likeness. And then it says, gave us dominion. So dominion is speaking about what that means to be created in God's image. And then it describes what that dominion is. And it says, well, it's not killing the animals and eating them. In fact, you're not doing that. You're eating things other than the animals. And then in the very next verse, it talks about the animals' food. So sometimes people read this as thinking it's kind of disconnected from the idea of dominion, that dominion was just that one verse. But I read this as meaning this is all tied into dominion. And so what I think is happening here is God is saying, here's what you should eat, and here's what the animals are to eat. So part of our instruction of having dominion is to feed the animals. So he's saying this is the animals' food. And we're supposed to be growing that food. It says in chapter 2, verse 15, "The Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it." So we were gardeners, growers of food, and he's saying, grow this food and feed it to the animals. And the reason that I say this, the reason I interpret it this way, is because whenever God said to the animals, be fruitful and multiply, he also said the same thing to humans, be fruitful and multiply. But then this additional instruction was given to humans, saying, now for you, have dominion. And then he says, this is your food. Well, he didn't tell the animals what their food is. He told humans what our food is. Then he told humans what the animals' food is. He didn't say to the animals, be fruitful, multiply, eat the green herb. Humans, be fruitful, multiply, eat the green herb and the fruit. He said, humans and animals both be fruitful, multiply, but humans, here's your food and here's the animals' food. So to me, I read that as part of the dominion he's giving us is to feed and take care of these animals. And then it says in verse 31, "Then God saw everything that he had made, and it was indeed very good." So this arrangement of putting us in charge, it says in Isaiah 11, verse 6, that we're like a child leading the animals. So we're ruling, we're leading, we're feeding, we're taking care of. So we're the ones in charge. So we're all supposed to be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. But the humans are the ones in charge, and not in charge to do whatever we want, but instead to follow God's instructions. That's what it means to be created in God's image. It says God is love, 1 John 4, 8, and 16. And so as created beings that were created in God's image of love, we should rule or lead in that image of love. So we're taking care of the animals, we're feeding them. It says in Luke, I believe it's Luke 12:42, to be faithful and wise stewards, feeding them their portion of food in due season. So that's the kind of stewardship that God calls us to, that when the Master Jesus returns, that's what he expects us to be doing. So dominion, if we look at it a little bit more closely, it involves taking care of the animals and also being vegan. So if you are trying to use dominion to suggest that we shouldn't be vegan, well, take a closer look, because actually it's the reverse. This is Craig Wesco recording for s2p.org.